it's like the number one thing. Yeah, it's Liao's shtick,
right?
But it's mine. I mean, you know, in his book, there's no instruction. It's all generic and general, and in mine, everything is step by step by step by step, and there is no wondering what you're supposed to do ever.
Right. You're giving
That's the difference between us. Yes,
like a recipe.
Is he better be? Of course he's better be. I don't want to be the state of the art.
Right.
But, you know, I've also been doing this for almost 40 years.
I had a couple more questions.
Go ahead.
And they're starting to seep away.
Squeeze them out.
Question. Oh, and when you're doing, can I ask you a breathing of the Qigong?
Go ahead.
You mentioned pulling the diaphragm muscle like you're...
On inside air, up.
Like you're plucking a
guitar string.
So, I know from the yoga practice they do something called Uddiyana Bandha, where you pull in your navel, and then sometimes you can practice...
I don't care about that. I'm talking about
loosening up the diaphragm.
Just like a hiccup.
Like a hiccup. So,
that's all.
Is it to loosen up the diaphragm muscle?
No, it's to activate the diaphragm. So, remember, as I have said in my video and on my book, that inside air is equivalent of priming the pump, like when you're trying to get water out of the ground.
Right.
You pour a little water in, and then the water going in is what helps you suck the water out. It makes a suction. So inside air is priming the pump to do the other circulations. You can't do, in my opinion, you can't do microcosmic orbit unless you've been inside air first. That's why it's inside air is lesson 2 and the microcosmic orbit is lesson 4.
Right.
I organized it on purpose. I didn't just mumbo-jumbo everything together like everybody else does.
And I guess I'll ask you one more question.
Go ahead.
There's these different practices in Kundalini Yoga, for instance, where you do breath of fire.
Yeah, I don't care about Kundalini Yoga. I don't even have an opinion other than I treat one every couple of years.
Right. I'm just for like a detailed question. If you do that type of breathing, and you start to feel like people talk about prana or chi, and then there's a difference where you talk about jing, which is like a magnetic frequency.
Right, jing is also connected to the bone structure, which none of the Kundalini stuff is. It's not structured, it's up only. My practices are in a cycle.
The cycle, right. And you create the frequency you have to do the bone breathing.
The internal vibration is what you're cultivating in my Qigong and Neigong program. Not just moving energy in a single direction. Not just adding oxygen. Oh, the other Qigong guys talk about the oxygen you suck in. Who cares?
Oxygen.
It's the cultivating of the vibration that matters, not the air.
And then the other point would be people talk about chi or prana as being in the air around you, and you're collecting it through the breath and storing it in your body.
Yeah, I don't talk about that. I'm the vacuum, and I'm the magnet, and I'm sucking it in from everywhere, including inside my own body.
I guess the question would be, is there a mechanism inside the body that creates electricity? Is chi like electricity?
No,
how would you describe
but the mind cultivates the internal suction, and then the energy changes its direction and heads in, like in my logo.
And so we call it an alchemical process because at some point...
I don't use big words like that. I'm not smart enough.
Right, I guess I
read all those books when I was a student. None of it helped.
Like, they all talk about it.
They all talk about the golden elixir, blah, 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 blah. Who cares?
But I guess what we're wondering is there is a mixture of like hormones and like neurotransmitters.
They're talking about your sperm.
Right.
But they're indirect.
Because they don't want to just come out right and say...
Well, they can't. They're indirect.
Sort
the
of
whole culture is indirect. I'm not indirect.
Right. So can I ask you, would it be right to say that the energy that we're trying to cultivate is in the sperm, like a magnetic form of energy?
No, but it's sexual energy that is refined into a vibration. That's what we're storing. That's what I circulate through my bone structure. That's what I use when I slam somebody into the ground.
Right.
Is my sexual energy that's not just walking around with a heart on, but stored first in Dan Ken and then stored in
like that
the long bones and having the ability to go and explode all at once. A coordinated explosion.
Right.
Done?
What you called it steaming rice or cooking rice?
Boiling rice, yes.
Yeah. I have more questions, but I think we're done.
All right. Thank you very much.